All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. What it is? What it is? All right, guys. I'm hopefully not too disconnected. I'm on this weird chair here, so we'll see what happens. We're gonna talk about classic movies. See who shows up. The fun of dyskinesia in your legs makes it sitting ever so much fun, ever so lovely. Let me take my shoes off. Here we go. Make it a little easier. Shit, that was good. We'll see who shows up. If anybody shows up. By the way, that guitar over there, that is my favorite guitar in the world. Rickenbacker. 6-string, the Beatles played them. Interesting fact, it was named Rickenbacker, the guitar, that's the name of the guitar. You can see it on the headstock. But during World War II, because of anti-German prejudice, they changed it to Rickenbacker, so the spelling is different. It's a great guitar. It's my favorite guitar. In fact, I haven't played it in years. I got it out for a track that I was doing a few days ago. It's just got such a sweet sound. The early '60s Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand sound. Incredible guitar. In fact, I bought it when I first got hired at my grocery job. I was making a whopping $12 or $13 an hour, which was a lot. Seems like not much then, but I went from $5 to $13 an hour, and I said I'm going to treat myself by getting that guitar, and it's been my favorite guitar, and I love it. And I only regret that my sloppy hands and arms aren't as coordinated as they should be, because it's a beautiful guitar. But like I said, I tracked some stuff the other day. Came out really pretty good. It's just such a smooth play. Just the tension is just right on the neck. Doesn't have a lot of sustain like a Gibson, like a Les Paul or something. In fact, here's a little another note. John Fogerty played him on a lot of the early CCR stuff. In fact, there's a video live somewhere. It was on Netflix a while back, and he's playing a Rickenbacker almost the entire time. So there's a little trivia for you, and it's blue. It's my favorite blue. So there you go. There's a little trivia. I'm going to talk about classic movies today. I'm going to see if anybody else shows up. I've got a stack of them here, and as you know, I love movies. Got my Blockbuster hat on, and there's 2 people. Let's see if we get 3 people before I start talking movies. I guess. Hey, Jersey Mike, is that right, Mike? Jersey, South Jersey. I guess that's what the SJ is. Yep. I've never been to Jersey. I've been to Manhattan, and I follow a podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave, and they're actually they used to work at Kevin Smith, the director's comic book store. And they don't work there anymore, but they still live in Jersey, obviously. And I would love to get to Jersey sometime. It's, of course, there's popular because of The Sopranos, but there's a lot of famous alums came out of Jersey. Yeah, you okay? Cool. You know it. All right. I knew you. I should have known you were cool enough to know it. Yeah, it was Walt Flanagan, Brian Johnson. There's a guy named Mike running it now. But yeah, so Bon Jovi came out of Jersey. Springsteen, of course. I think Jon Stewart, the commentator guy. I think Chris Jericho. I think the wrestler came out of Jersey. There's all kinds of popular Jersey people. But yeah. So let me ask you this: Springsteen tour. Okay, cool. Let me ask you this: when you meet people from out of state, is the first thing they bring up Springsteen or The Sopranos? What's the number one thing you get? Okay, well, I'm sorry. Well, I was way off there. Yeah, I was way off there. I'm sure there's some wrestler from there, but who else is from Jersey? Throw some names at me. Yeah, Bruce is from Jersey. He's got he's got an album or a song called Asbury Park or something about that. So Bruce is what you get the most. Yeah, I would have thought Sopranos, but I guess Sopranos has been off the air a while, and Bruce has been popular forever. I tend to lean more towards his early stuff. I've got Darkness on the Edge of Town, which is a fantastic album. Of course, Born in the USA, and I've got, what's the third one I got? Of course, Born to Run. Oh yeah, there we go. Born to Run. Just amazing riff on that song. And of course, the tie-in there is little Stevie was on The Sopranos. So there you go. You already knew that, though. You already knew that. So let me ask you this: what have you heard John Bon Jovi's voice lately? I don't know if he's really in your wheelhouse, but I'm kind of a casual Bon Jovi fan, and as a vocalist, oh, that'd been awesome, awesome, awesome. Uh, but yeah, Bon Jovi, he had some kind of paralysis in his vocal cords, and it's been pretty rough to watch. Because I'm not a huge Bon Jovi fan, but I've got Slippery When Wet and the New Jersey album. Um, but it's just as a guy who sings or used to sing in a band, it's really hard to watch a vocalist struggle. I got to tell you, it's really tough for me because I've been there. I mean, maybe not the vocal paralysis, but when my Parkinson's started to act up, I was singing like every other weekend. My voice just got so tired. I was like, why am I so tired? So I went to the doctor, and they said, do you always talk like this? And I was, of course, I was kind of mumbling, and I said, yeah, I was singing a rock band. So they did the scope on my throat and said, yeah, you got calluses from screaming. So I thought that was it, but it didn't explain the weakness. They put me on steroids and it reduced the swelling because my throat was just so tight. Yeah, I think he's got some kind of vocal surgery and it's helping. But I know a guy I used to work with, actually a couple guys I used to work with, that said they went and saw him. There's this place called Riverport by the house, and they said basically just see let the crowd sing everything. But it's got to be hard as a musician or as a singer. You got everybody relying on you. So if you cancel the tour, people lose their jobs. So I can see why he struggled on, but I can't. Yeah, I think so. I can't see going out on the road when I couldn't sing. I mean, I did gigs where Steven Tyler, yeah, he messed up his voice. Steven Tyler, he's from Jersey, right? Am I right on that? Could be wrong. I think he's at least from New York, Italian guy. Boston. Oh, you're making me look bad, Mike. Making me look bad. Well, I know about music. I don't know where everybody's from, but Steven Tyler, he had the hemorrhaging vocal cords. He screamed himself crazy, and but that's the thing. That's the thing that I don't think most people realize that other than the drummer I guess takes a lot of abuse on their body, but the singer, you can always turn up your guitar or retune your guitar, or I guess you can your bass, whatever. You can't. There's no putting new strings on your voice. There's no turning up your voice. I mean, you can turn it up on the monitor. But my problem was, I think the reason I blew my voice out was trying to sing stuff like that I couldn't sing. Like I tried to do "Rock and Roll" by Zeppelin. Been a long time since a rock and roll. Yeah, you can tell it's way out of my range, and I think I blew my voice out doing that. But just the strain of singing. I mean, if you got calluses, I guarantee you, almost every singer out there. I know Adele has struggled with vocal cord nodules. They're called nodules. It's just insane. There's the wear and tear on the human voice, and that's what I don't think the average um, concert goer doesn't really think. Like, yeah, Linda Ronstadt, Parkinson's. Yeah, it's pretty. And that's the thing. She said she could tell something was wrong with her voice, and I know that feeling where like people are like, "You're fine, you're fine, you're fine," but Linda said she started shouting, and if you watch her latter performances, you can tell she doesn't have the vibrato, doesn't have quite the control that she had. But nobody would notice that except a fellow singer. In fact, I probably wouldn't notice unless she pointed it out. Like Linda Ronstadt was struggling. Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, I can still belt it out, but I got to tell you, and it could be because I'm turning 50 and I don't sing as much as I used to. But my vibrato is pretty much gone. I don't have the control of my muscles in my throat to vibrato. I can still belt it out pretty good, which I got to be honest with you is my favorite stuff to do. I listen to some of my early stuff, which I'm getting ready to put out on Spotify and Apple Music here in a couple months. I just sound like an angel, but that was a long time ago. That was damn near 25, 30 years ago. But yeah, that's one of the tough things about Parkinson's. Of course, it's like your whole body changes, and it's not really fair. Nothing's fair in life. It's like Clint Eastwood just said, "Deserves got nothing to do with it." Yep, undefeated, as they say. Well, I mean, like, not for nothing, but Brian Johnson from AC/DC should have hung it up probably 3 or 4 years ago. I love the AC/DC, the Back in Black, and for those about to rock, um, Flick of the Switch, Black Ice. I'm probably a bigger fan of Brian Johnson than I am of Bon Scott, although Bon Scott, you can't take anything away from him. But Brian Johnson can't do it anymore. The dude's like, he's in his 70s. Of course, an old man like that can't scream like he did when he was 30. So that's another thing that people don't realize is as you're it's like a boxer or like an athlete going forward 20 years and expect him to do the same thing. It's impossible. It's impossible. Tom Brady's done it. Mentally, he still got it, but physically, he can't do it anymore. And he's one of the best to play the game. So, yeah, I don't know if any of this is interesting to you, but I'm just kind of, yep, yep, that's right. Due to streaming services and the death of album sales like CDs and vinyl and tapes, cassette tapes, I'm sure you remember those. They don't make crap, and it's got to be so frustrating. Live and merch, yeah. That's why if I go to a show, and I rarely do, but if I do, I try to buy some merch because it's that's probably in my opinion the most of the percentage of it goes directly to the band. I mean, I guess they got to pay the cost of what it costs to make the t-shirts and whatever. But yeah, it's I got to tell you, I've got friends. Yep, $50. I got friends in the music business, and really really talented friends in the movie business. Got one thing on my mind in the music business, and it's just shocking that they don't get paid for their incredible talent, and that's why that's why I've always said, Mike, I'd rather be lucky than good because there's a lot of great. I mean, I worked with a guitar player. His name was Eddie. He was incredible. We called him Shreddy. He could play Van Halen. He could play Sabbath. He could play Deep Purple. You name it, he could play it. But he was way better than I've ever been or ever will be. But he was such a frustrated genius because nobody. Yeah, I've got a friend who saw Zeppelin numerous times. He said after a certain point they it was rough. In fact, that's one of the things I respect about Robert Plant is he doesn't try to sing those old songs anymore because it's just painful. Nobody wants to see that. We want to remember them in their glory days. Speaking of Springsteen, glory days. There you go. There's a good one. So, Mike, let me ask you, how long have you had PD? I've watched your videos. I got the sense that you've had it maybe about 3 to 4 years. Am I wrong on that? I've watched so many videos and talked to so many people. 3 to 4 years is my guess. You're fairly newly diagnosed. You can't tell you have it at all, at least not on your videos, which is okay. Yeah, so you're a newbie. So not it hasn't been quite. You don't haven't have your birthday. And I've watched some of your things, and tell me what was the most troubling thing that made you go to the doctor. The thing that you said I can't, something's off. Was it a tremor? Was it a stiff shoulder? It started with a stiff shoulder with me, and then just went all down my arm and my hand. It was like spreading all over my body. But what was the one thing that really made you go, something is terribly wrong? I remember trying to put on my work gloves at work, and I couldn't get my hand in the glove. And I showed it for a friend, and he goes, "You need to go to the doctor for that." And I was like, "Yeah." We got two people in here. Feel free to jump in. Anybody that's. Oh yeah, that'll do it. I was told by my chiropractor that I used to go to. She goes, "Do you know you drag your leg?" And I'm a smart ass, and I was always talking about mouth breathers and leg draggers, and there's a shot of The Simpsons, in The Simpsons where Homer wants to get disabled parking and gets out of the car and starts dragging his leg. It's not. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny, and that's what people don't associate. At least I didn't. Leg issues with PD. I found out belatedly. I mean, I remember my arms didn't swing. I remember going into Target up the street, and I was like trying to walk. And I'm like, it feels like I'm in concrete. Oh, you really tried to run in your sleep? Did you fall out of bed? I can still run. It's not a, it's not pretty. And even in fact, when I'm dyskinetic, it's even worse. I can barely walk when I'm on my Cinemed, which is why I don't take it so much. I just took a dose about an hour ago, so I'm gonna just sit on here for a little while while I'm feeling good. But the dyskinesia is rather mild. So yeah, now I think you're married. I think you are married, or if you're not, Did your friends notice things before you? Because I had friends tell me you walk like an old man, and I was like, "Shut your effing mouth!" And yeah, they. Sorry, I'm talking. Get my jersey out. I had people tell me, "You walk like an old man." Actually, why do you shuffle? Because I would drag my legs. Actually, I had somebody said, "Are you gay?" And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because the way you walk." And I thought because I was squishing. But I think it was because I walk stiff, and they were trying to make a joke about me having some on my bum. So I don't. That was kind of a weird thing. But yeah, I mean, people just kept telling me, like, what's wrong with you? Ruptured two discs. Was that? Oh, no. No, that's rough. Sorry to hear that. Well, let me ask you this. I think I know the answer to this. Are you exercising? Do you have any kind of exercise regimen? Because that's what really keeps me frisky. By the way, I'm proud. I shave my mustache. Trim my my uh, my facial hair. Yep. So I did this. I trimmed my mustache when I was off, so I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, I hated that old man. Excuse me, my legs are cramping up. I hated that old man comment because I mean I've always considered myself to be, although I have like kind of an old soul. I've been told that by doctors and psychologists and everybody. I felt like I'm young at heart. I love movies, as you can see. I've got toys everywhere. I love music. I love all that. But people just kept pegging me with this old man comment. I remember making a joke to one of my buddies, like, "Oh, I'm going to take up a second career as a male stripper." And the guy goes, "Well, I don't think you got the moves." And I was like, it's kind of insulted. Then I realized I can't move right. It was really awkward and upsetting. So let me ask you this, Mike. Nice. How do you handle it mentally? That's if you don't mind me asking, because I go to cognitive behavioral therapist, and I get my money's worth out of her. The weird thing is when you first get diagnosed, there's this weird kind of like I wouldn't say denial, but it's like I got this. But I mean, honestly, I never really felt that. I was like I am screwed like a mofo. That's kind of what I thought. But mentally, it's a big thing. I mean, just getting down here to talk. I mean, sometimes I got a lot of people show up to these live streams. Honestly, most people watch it after the fact, but it just feels good to talk to other people, even if it's just 2 or 3 people down here. Like I said, I end up getting hundreds of views after the fact, but yeah, the mental part of this is it's a bastardo. All right, let me go through a couple movies here. I've mentioned this one before. The Great Escape. Steve McQueen, James Garner, Richard Attenborough of Jurassic Park. This I remember watching this with my dad. I got the Blu-ray from the mall. Great movie. Depends on the dad. Some great sport. Yeah, that's the thing. I remember when I got diagnosed, somebody said, "Well, did they catch it in time?" I was like, "No." That the fact that they caught it all is kind of screwed up. The medicine only treats the symptoms; it doesn't do anything to the underlying root cause of the disease, which is unfortunate. And I had hoped 13 years in that they would have created some disease modifying therapy, but I mean, it is what it is. Here's another good movie, Easy Rider. Jane Fonda, Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper, Jack Nicholson. Great movie. I used to ride a motorcycle. I loved it. They would when I pulled into work, they'd say "Wild Hogs," like that movie, Fear Throughout the Land. I love my bike, but honestly, Parkinson's or not, once my son was born, I realized it was kind of like maybe a good idea to stop. Never heard of PD. Well, did they know Michael J. Fox? How can you not have heard of Parkinson's? I mean, I knew what it was, and I when I saw myself on camera, I was like, I got Parkinson's, and I had the vaguest idea what it was, but I looked at myself and was like, I've got PD. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, here's another one. This is from my buddy Scott in England. Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock's best, maybe up there. It's tied for first with the birds. Great movie. Great movie. Yeah, I mean, and then I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I know Pope John Paul third or whatever it was. He had PD, and I remember watching him hunched over, trying to do mass. And then of course Billy Graham had it, but I don't think Billy Graham was really. I don't think he really came out in public and showed himself suffering of it from it. And then of course everybody's least favorite person, Adolf Hitler, had it, at least according to reports. And that's, I mean, I don't know if you're religious or not. I'm not. I'm really more agnostic. But what I tell people that will tell me, well, you just need to pray and God will fix it. And or other people have said like things like, well, you need to get right with God, and that's why you got Parkinson's. Shadow. I'll look for that one. I don't have that one in my library. And I'm like, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be arguably one of the most giving people, at least from what I understand, Billy Graham, or you could be one of the worst human beings to ever live, Adolf Hitler, or you could be Michael J. Fox, or you could be Ali. You could, I mean, Parkinson's doesn't discriminate. It takes on everybody. Now, there could be genetic reasons, and I know Adolf Hitler was on a lot of drugs toward the end of his life. Yep, yes, yeah. I found myself holding my arm up like this. I was like, why am I doing that? But yeah, I'll stop talking about that. But it's just like Parkinson's does not discriminate. It takes anybody and everybody that gets in its wake, and it's a vicious disease. And I'm just so lucky. I feel so lucky or so fortunate. Maybe lucky is the wrong word. But you feeling lucky, punk? I just feel very fortunate that I'm still as functional as I am. Like, I mean, I struggle like a lot of people, and I definitely have moments of dyskinesia, and when I'm just too groggy to even have a conversation. But when I'm on my Cinemet and it's working like it should, at least I can sit and have a good conversation with people, and I can talk. Like I said, one of my biggest fears with DBS, just me personally. No, I don't have Apple TV, but that's got Harrison Ford where he's got PD and Michael J. Fox on. I've seen all the clips. I try to only subscribe to one or two streaming services, streaming services at a time. Right now, I've got Amazon and Netflix. When I'm done with Amazon, I'll get Apple, because I've had numerous people tell me about shrinking on Apple TV. I love my TV. There's a song by Noel Gallagher from Oasis says, "I want to live in a dream in my record machine. I want to live in a dream in my movie machine." Here's an old one: Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland. This is for really old. I used to watch this, Robin Hood. I used to watch this on Disney when it was on TV. Love that movie. It reminds me of being a kid. Oh, Peacock for free. Yeah, for a while I got HBO for free, but then they started cracking down on people sharing, so nope. Yeah, but that Robin Hood movie always reminds me of being a kid. So I love classic movies. And so, Mike, what would be your number one favorite TV show of all time? Never heard of Captain Blah. I have to look that up. Number one favorite. Well, it's top three favorite TV shows of all time. I don't want to speak for you, but The Sopranos better be in there. Just kidding. Top three TV shows of all time. I'll tell you mine after you tell me yours. I'll give you a chance to think about it. In the meantime, Father Goose. This isn't a real popular one, but it's got Cary Grant. I can't remember her name. It says World War II movie. Well, it's not a World War II. It's set during World War II, and it's a good movie. It's about this real grumpy alcoholic on the island, Cary Grant, who is marooned with this lady and her school troop. Great movie. We get it out. Me and my wife laugh about it. And Sinatra has the song "Don't Pass Me By" on it. I'm a big Sinatra guy. Oh, we got two people in. I was hoping for more, but whatever. I love you all. I love you all. This is my cave down here. I love it down here. I would never go upstairs, except we don't have a toilet down here. Let's see what other movies I got. Okay, well, everybody knows this one. Rear Eternity. My legs are cramping up. Homicide, West Wing, St. Elsewhere. I've seen The West Wing, enjoyed it. Have never seen Homicide, and St. Elsewhere. That's an older show, isn't it? I don't believe I've ever seen an episode of either Homicide or St. Elsewhere. I do like true crime stuff. I'm assuming Homicide's a drama, though. I could be wrong. I think I've seen ads for it. Here's another movie. A lot of people don't like this because it's overdone. Still got the price tag on it. The Sound of Music. Blu-ray. Looks amazing. Like I said, anything World War II related I love. And I once again, like Robin Hood, reminds me of being a kid. You know, and Christopher, shoot, drawing a blank. Not Christopher Guest. Christopher Plummer, I'm sure a lot of people already heard this, called it The Sound of Mucus because he hated it. He thought it was too cheesy. And here's a little thing about that movie. German people don't really like it because what is it on peak? Never mind. I'll look it up. I can find it somewhere. But in Germany, I guess in Bavaria, and like they got the geography all wrong. Like when they go up in the mountains, they actually would have been going into Hitler's eagle's nest. So it's kind of like if somebody was like taking a trip from Jersey and it was just a little walk over the mountains to Florida. It doesn't translate. It's another useless movie trivia that I could talk on and on about. Yeah, you give me some things to check out, Mike. And then my last one here. I'm a Bogart. I love Bogart and I love Ava Gardner. Oh, Godfather. Hells to the yeah. Let me ask you this. This is probably a question most people get. Godfather 1 or Godfather 2? If you were stuck on an island, which one would you pick? Hard to argue with that. The only reason I would pick 2 is because it's longer. It's got 2 storylines, but Marlon Brando is just you're glued to every scene. I remember I wasn't allowed to watch that movie when I was at home because my parents were religious. I guess they didn't want me to see gory stuff. But when I think I was like 23, 24, I went to the library and I got that movie. And I was working overnights at the time, and I went downstairs in my other house. I had a little movie theater down there, and I turned it on just expecting to watch the first few minutes of it because I need to go to bed so I can get up in the early afternoon. I watched the whole 3-hour movie. It was amazing from front to back. Oh, thank you, Christy. Well, me and your hubby have a lot in common here. We've been talking movies and music and Springsteen and Sopranos and Godfather and all that stuff. It's nice to always meet the spouse. Yeah, I would agree with that. Michael is a pathological like zombie in the second one. He's just completely emotionless. He kills without. I mean, when he sits there in his study when Fredo gets shot, yeah, that's pretty brutal. I'll give you that. And also, it gets really dark in that even when with the senator where he finds the dead prostitutes. Yeah, that's. I will give you that. And once again, it's hard to beat the original with Salazzo and when he shoots the cop, and then when he goes to Sicily. Do you mind me asking? Are you Italian? Because I mean, I know there's a lot of Italians in Jersey. Not that it matters to me. I'm Irish, French, German. I've always admired the Italian food. Absolutely, I've always loved Italian food. In fact, one time I made calzones, and my Sicilian neighbor said these are so good, and I never made them again because I didn't want to get like James Gandolfini. So, Chrissy, you're Irish. Well, top of the morning to you. There you go. Irish. Yeah, it's kind of weird, like how we all like came from different places, and we're Americans. We identify as American, but there's this need to know where we came from, and I'm 50% Irish and around 20% French, 20% German, and there's a little Czech and a little Native American in there somewhere. It's like one of my great grandfathers married a Cherokee woman. So no, I've never even heard of that. I gotta be honest with you. Other than the Godfather movies and then that if you don't mind me saying that god awful Dracula movie, I don't really know that much about Coppola. I love his wine. When I really want to treat myself, I get some Coppola wine. I think it's called Russo. I think that's the name. It's like a family homemade wine. So, Christy, let me ask you this: what is something about my page that you like? I'm always, and then if there's something you don't like, can just give it to me straight. While you're doing that, I'm going to say Barefoot Contessa. Not a real masculine movie, but I love it. I just love the performance of Bogart and Ava Gardner. She's at the height of her beauty in that one. And of course, as Italians, as an Italian, I'm sure you love the chairman of the board. I came to the Sinatra thing in my probably early 40s, and September my wife said on my 49th birthday, she said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to sit on my deck and listen to September my years." She goes, "Well, you are an old man." It's all good. Oh, what is something you like about my channel? And then is there something that you don't like about my channel? I always like to get the negative with the positive, because I find if people only say positive things about you, they're probably not being completely honest, but which you might be. I don't want to put you on the spot. And yes, the ads, um, pay the bills a little bit. YouTube has become just a bunch of AI slop, I think is what they're calling it. And it's really hit my channel hard and a lot of other creators, because it's just AI voices and AI images. But the ads, I do get a little something from them. So yeah, that's just FYI. Oh, so you're Christie's the number 2 fan. Awesome. Yeah. Sweet. But yeah, I was gonna say it's funny. Like, we need to know where our roots were, and it's like it doesn't make any difference to me where people come from. But I like knowing that I came from Ireland. Of course, my name is McDonald, and I'm a proud Irishman, American. But I'm also proud of my German, because and you've probably seen me in some of my videos. Sprechen Sie Deutsch, speaking German. Yeah, we definitely have our own like wavelength. And here's the thing, PD is so hard to explain that when you find somebody that understands your issues. Well, there you go. Living with Parkinson. That's one of the hardest things, is to stay positive. And it's like, I'm not always positive. You can ask my wife. She's like, sometimes you're a grumpy asshole. But I'm like, and she's like, one thing that really bugs her. She said, nothing is ever as bad as what you have. She's like, I can have the flu. You're like, well, I have Parkinson's. And I'm like, she's a sweetheart. Yeah. I did a couple interviews with her. I don't know if you saw them, but they're on my Patreon. I think they're free. I don't know if you want to, I can open them up for open up the access to you, so you don't have to pay for them. I think I've done 3 Q&As with Esther. So yeah, my Patreon is Parkinson's with Jeremy Mack on Patreon. If you sign up for free, and then I can unlock the Esther interviews, because they're behind a paywall. Yeah, she's a great ambassador for this. And I mean, I'm 13 years in. I think she's not nearly as far in as I am, and I can't really. Plus, I've got a kid who's 13, and he's got some issues, not big issues, but I don't really have the time, energy, or mobility to be an advocate. But she's really good. And somebody that's kind of where, like, I think the people, like, I've followed people on YouTube 3 years. I followed people on YouTube, and then they kind of drop off of their channels after a while. I don't know if it's because of illness or boredom, but I find every step along the way, we've got different, what am I thinking? What am I trying to say? Different eras or different periods of our Parkinson's. Like, when I was first diagnosed, I was a lot more functional, and I got some things in that I wanted to get in. McDonald, hey. Yeah, that's why I go by J Mac. They called me that at work. When I worked at a Teamster warehouse, my dad was DMC, like Run DMC, because his name was Dave. So they just called me J Mac, and it stuck. And I was like, kind of like that, kind of like J Mac. McDonald. I'm Christy, I'm sure that it's, like Ellis Island, they just renamed, they changed the spelling on the names. McDonald and McDonald are probably from the same family tree. I could be wrong. I'm just shooting shit in the wind here. But yeah, we're probably distant cousins. I would imagine. Here's a weird fact. One of my musician friends, Sam, he went to England, and he went to, I guess, King Henry VIII, some of that. And he said that he did some genetic testing, and he's distant related to King Henry VIII, and he stood next to the portrait. And I'm telling you, there's a resemblance. Yeah, that's why, Mike. That's why I find YouTube is my best little vehicle for what I do. And honestly, I can't talk about Parkinson's all the time, which is why I do my podcast with Michelle, who used to do slow dancing with Parkinson's. She just, I think, had lost the motivation to do it, but we do a podcast. And it's not Parkinson's related, but Parkinson's does come up. And I just feel like maybe I'm one of the few PD people out there talking about other things than Parkinson's, and maybe that detracts from my overall appeal. But I got to be me. I can't just talk about Parkinson's. I mean, honestly, I think Michael J. Fox, if I ever met him, I'd be like, tell me about your favorite guitar. I wouldn't even want to talk about Parkinson's with him. I'd be like, tell me what your favorite guitar was, or tell me what your favorite concert was. I'd ask him something completely non-PD related. By the way, have you ever seen the Curb Your Enthusiasm with Michael J. Fox? Oh my God, it's hysterical. When I first got diagnosed, I watched it. Look it up. If you go to YouTube, even if you can't watch the whole episode. Funniest shit ever. And I say that dropping cuss words because I know, like I said, you're from Jersey, so I don't want to stereotype you as a potty mouth, but yeah, I'm Teamster. I'm sure I would have fit in. I think I would fit in New Jersey. Very, very blue collar. Yeah, so that's me. I can't talk just about Parkinson's. It's like it's got to be. I like talking about it because I originally started this channel for my friends and relatives that were afraid to ask questions, and yeah, that's why I started some of my early videos, which I've taken down a lot of them because I'm so embarrassed of them. But I'm reposting them on Patreon. Philly, that's right. You're Mike, you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan. Your team's got a lot more on the ball than the Cardinals. The Cardinals are currently rebuilding right now. They've stripped it down. They traded Sonny Gray, Brendan Donovan, and the catcher that they turned into a first baseman, Contreras. So now we're playing all rookies this year, so I have no expectations. Our general manager was he just ran it into the ground. He got stale, but the Cardinals had a good run, and the Phillies are still they've got a competitive team. I just don't expect much of the Cardinals in the next few years. And who knows if there's going to be a work stoppage in 2027. That's always just looming on the horizon, which would be the worst thing for the game at this point. Christy, do you go to the games with him? Or So she does go. Okay. Yeah, I used to be, we had the St. Louis Rams for a while, then they moved back to LA. And I would sit there and scream at the TV because little did we know, but Stan Kroenke, the owner, bought the team from. He took after the original owner died. Yep, it will be a stoppage. And on his way, he basically ran the team into the ground. Gave horrible rosters year after year because he wanted to move the team and he wanted the ammo to go to the league and say they don't support the team. It was something like between Steve Spagnuolo, Jeff Fisher, and there's another guy I'm missing in there. Worst three season record, something like that in the history of the NFL. And so he said, Stan Kroenke went to the NFL and said, see, they don't support the team. Well, you've been putting a shit sandwich on the field. Yeah, don't get me started. I'm already getting riled up. I miss my football. I still watch it. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a Chiefs fan, but I that's as close as we got to a football team. So you got the New York Giants, which are technically in Jersey. You got the New York Jets, which I think is in Jersey. Yeah, Jeff Fisher, he ran the Titans for a while. He had that old school football mentality, and he 7-9, 9-7. He was barely over 500. Well, yeah, well, there's a hell. You got a hell of a football team there, Eagles. Yeah, that I'm surprised they didn't make it further this year, but shit happens. But yeah, I would scream at the TV things I will not repeat on this channel when the Rams were during that downfall when they were trying to run the team into the ground to move it to LA. So I'm a bitter fan. I hate watch the Rams. They're a good team, but I hate watch them just because. Yeah, I would pick the Eagles every day. Giants, I don't think that since Eli Manning, they haven't really had much of anything going on. Dick Vermeil, hells to the Dick Vermeil. I miss that guy. He still comes on St. Louis radio every once in a while. And it was funny because before the first few years, like he was famous for crying in his press conferences. And then when when Trent Green went down in the preseason and they put Kurt Warner in, I was like, it's going to be, here we go again. And I just casually followed them because they were so bad for so long. And then Kurt Warner won one game, two games, and they went 6-0. I'm like, okay, I got to start watching. And then Dick Vermeil stopped crying and started smiling. But Dick Vermeil is just an amazing, everything I've ever heard about, an amazing guy. Sometimes I wonder if they would have kept him instead of putting Mike Martson. I wonder if things would have been different here for the Rams, but who knows? Past is past. Holy crap, we've been going 41 minutes already. Well, time flies when the company's good. Any more questions? Dick Vermeil, yeah, he was one of them guys. Yeah, they said he'd be up crack of dawn even earlier at the training facility. Last one to leave, first one to get there. He everything I've ever read or saw about him, it seems like a really, really genuine, sweet guy. All right, guys, I'm gonna just give it a couple more minutes here, and then I'm gonna head on. I need to go get some food in my stomach. No protein. I'm gonna get some fresh peppers. Oh, speaking of Philly, there was a baseball player for the Cardinals named J.D. Drew, and when the Phillies tried to draft him, and for whatever reason, I didn't know you could do this. He refused to go to the Phillies, and so when he came to the Cardinals, and then when J.D. Drew, when the Cardinals played the Phillies, they were, let's just say, they were not nice to J.D. Drew. I think they threw D batteries at him. So you're Philly people that you got a reputation. I'm sure you know that. Yeah. St. Louis have the reputation for the best fans in baseball, which I think is a marketing slogan. I don't know what the slogan would be for the Phillies. Don't F with Philly. Man, just guessing. Yeah, that JD Drew, that was a while ago, and I never really liked JD Drew because he was kind of like he was just spoiled. And Chrissy's washing her hands of that shit. All right, ladies and dudes, I got to go get some food. It's been nice, Mike and Christy and whoever else has been watching. Like I said, hundreds of people watch this on the replay, but peace and love, bros.